what the whole of 3rd Avenue looked like. It's 7 lanes, 5 for traffic, of a car sewer.
It was cringeworthy to watch people riding this street without even paint. There was nothing here. But people were so clearly needing it and so clearly riding it.
These islands here that make the distance to cross the avenue a lot shorter, particularly for people who are a bit slower to get across the avenue, being able to get already a lane or two across before the light cycle goes makes our city feel a lot safer.
As you can see from this bus, look at this bus move. Beautiful.
The more we can expand our protected bike network, the more citizens are going to enjoy all of New York City. I want to be able to have safe routes all over the 5 boroughs.
I think this project is sort of the best case scenario, beautiful vision for what our avenue should look like. We have these extra wide bike lanes, some of them 11 feet wide. We have room for buses. We see that red paint done. Pedestrians feel like they have these safe wide crossings with all the daylighting treatments. We can see cars are driving more safely.
About 2.5 years ago, I was over there on Madison Avenue, going uptown. I thought, this is terrible. I have to go all the way to 1st Avenue. And that's when I thought, it's enough already.
We saw so many people dying on 3rd Avenue, getting severely injured, that it was enough. And there were a lot of people that wanted to change.
We had a petition. We got hundreds of signatures to start with to get us moving. Getting in touch with council members, the borough president, Department of Transportation. We had events on the street. We had an op-ed written.
This is what it used to look like, a one-way, essentially highway, running through a busy residential area.
This is one of the newer bike lanes that the DOT is installing. It's wider than the previous bike lane. It's a lot more comfortable. There's a lot of space around you. It also encourages social cycling. I could easily ride with this side by side with my son. We've been riding side by side, having a nice long conversation.
You can have a 3-abreast conversation. It's lovely.
Having the bike lane be a bit wider means that bikers who are going at different speeds, feels so much safer and calmer.
So people are passing, people can have conversations. Deliveristas can park somewhere without being in the way of someone else or crossing the lane. And it's really efficient, it's really well designed. I loved all the offset crossings. That's the way it should always be.
When infrastructure goes in like this, especially infrastructure that's as holistic as this, where you have not only a really good protected bike lane, but also actual bus infrastructure where bus infrastructure didn't exist, like that benefits everyone.
There's about 50,000 people who take the 3rd Avenue bus, and it has some of the slowest buses in the entire city.
Like the bus actually moves, for one thing. You're not stuck in traffic all the time. And especially if you're getting a limited bus that skips a lot of the stops, you can actually get a lot of good distance in a shorter period of time than you used to.
One of the great things about a bus lane, if it's not obstructed, is that emergency vehicles can use it and they can just cruise down the avenue without any obstruction.
Sometimes you have trucks or delivery vans that are blocking that bus lane, and I really hope we can get more camera enforcement to keep the city moving swiftly.
First on the corner here in that sort of tan paint, it's something called daylighting. So what daylighting does is it makes pedestrians more visible at the intersection to drivers making a turn in particular. So we're standing in this daylighting spot, and you can see behind me there's a bike rack. And what this bike rack does is it acts as a physical barrier to prevent a car from parking there. This is New York City. Drivers will find a place to put their car if you don't stop them. And this is a very functional, very low-cost way to do that. And it preserves that safety feature. At several spots, in addition to having bike racks, there's City Bike that's used for daylighting, which is another great way to optimize that space for both safety and utility. When you put in these buffers, it extends the pedestrian space, which slows the turning cars. You can see how much slower they're going. This is such a huge safety feature because we know that speed is one of the factors that determines the severity of a crash and the outcomes. Look at that.
Down the street in the same parking protected area, they have bike racks specifically for delivery cyclists. That means they're not on the sidewalk. That means that they can easily pull in and out of the bike lane, so it's much safer for them, it's much more comfortable for them. It's also better for pedestrians who don't have to worry about more space being taken away from them, or for other people who just want to use their bike rack.
DOT has been listening to us and building bike lanes for the future, because there's so many more cyclists in the city than when they started building these protected lanes in the late 2000s. And they're also using better physical protection. One thing that's really exciting to me about this lane on 3rd Avenue is the armadillos. And that's a type of physical protection that they put down, and it's just gonna decrease cars crossing over into the bike lane. It makes you feel physically safer when you're riding. And I think the combination of the double wide lane and more vertical protection is really exciting.
this an investment in the future because we have micromobility, we have deliveristas and e-bikes going faster. We'd like to have, moms and kids going slower and other people who are riding non-electric bikes going slower. So this looks like a bike lane for the future that could really have some impact